Hello, friends. Welcome to this channel, Center of Excellence Pharma 4. In this episode, I'm going to discuss about assessing your team for artificial intelligence readiness. Before we start, let me give you a brief introduction what we offer. We have a passion about concept Center of Excellence Pharma 4. As you all know, there are many new emerging technologies like cloud, artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, blockchain, robotic, chatbot. Many these technologies are coming up. These technologies can be very useful to solve the problems in today's pharma industry, as well as it can help in facing the challenges into the pharma industry to achieve operational and business excellence. At the same time, it will also support the regulatory requirement documentation. Keeping this in mind, we have developed a website, respa.com. You can find a lot of inputs over there. We have designed and developed a course, Smart Manufacturing in Pharma, on Udemy platform, which has got more than 20 modules covering various functional modules as well as the technology modules. So I request all of you to visit that, subscribe, register it, and use them. Give us a feedback, share those with your network. We started a YouTube channel about 5 years back with the same concept, which has got today almost 340 videos, starting from strategies, adoption of technologies, going up to the audits and validations. These videos also will be very useful to you to develop your knowledge base. Right now, what I'm talking is about a podcast. So we have a podcast channel which is really focusing onto what is really happening in the latest, either into a technology or regulatory requirement or business challenges. This is what we discussed onto this podcast. I'm happy to share that these podcasts are available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and YouTube. We have also launched a book series, Center of Excellence Pharma 4 on Amazon, which has got about 6 books published covering various topics, and few more books are under development, and those also will be available shortly. So with this introduction, let's start with today's agenda. What I'm going to discuss is about a comprehensive framework which is really required. That will cover up the introduction, dimensions for assessing team artificial intelligence readiness, assessment methodologies, science for your team, well, to evaluate how they are ready for artificial intelligence, what are the steps which are required to improve this team's readiness, and finally the conclusion. So before starting up the thing, let me give you a brief idea about the readiness about artificial intelligence as an overview. Today, what I see from the internet and the various research teams which we are doing the thing, 97% companies are very eager to deploy the artificial intelligence technologies. However, the effective use is only 14% of companies are really prepared. They are really successful at all that. And this is where there is a need for proper assessment. So it's critical to assess the readiness before investing into artificial intelligence, technology, projects, and everything. Now, how this artificial intelligence impact is going to work onto pharma industry, that is going to reshape your business processes, your people's decision making, and is going to have lot of new opportunities coming up with concepts of innovations. So we have to work out and develop a framework for evaluating this readiness. So the objective of this podcast is to help you to design the framework, and which will also include practical assessments, about the methods and strategies which have been adopted. What we are really talking about it is complete digital supply chain management. That's what is the objective. So the importance of artificial intelligence readiness is basically definition of readiness actually, which includes the various elements, processes, and the steps which are to be taken for effective implementation. This also involves cultural, business processes, governance, and technology changes which are really happening it. The importance of artificial intelligence readiness is we have to really prepare the teams who will drive this entire project successfully, which is being expected for the future point of view. And that ensures the proper implementation and which will generate the value creation, which will be developed from adoption of artificial intelligence into the various segments. It could be demand planning, it could be supply planning, it could be operational planning, it could be manufacturing execution system. So AI is going to have applications, adoptions to all these places and all that. And this is where the proper thinking, proper planning, proper strategies, proper selection of technologies, proper implementation, changeover is all this required. And this is where there is a urgency for readiness assessment, because unless you do that assessment, unless you identify those areas for the improvements and all, it's not going to happen. And this is what is the reason why today 70% digital transformations are failed and 80% of AI projects are failed actually. But at the same time, if you look at it, think it, it is all predicted that the market is going to be almost a 2 trillion US dollars by 2026. So that's in a very near future. So you have to think about the reasons for the failures and then take up the adequate preparations to avoid that actually. So now how you are going to do that assessment? So now that is what is the big questions actually. So there are a lot of assessments areas are there. The first one is of course the data, its quality, its governance, its integration capabilities and all that. As you know, all today most of the companies are still working onto the silos. They are still onto the analog systems. They have to migrate and upgrade to the digital. Once you are onto the digital, then the artificial intelligence comes into the picture. So the availability of the structured and unstructured data, you have to identify with relevance to the business objectives. When I say business objectives could be a good supplier evaluation, good quality reporting, or good production manufacturing systems reporting, or good warehouse operations or something. So there could be different objectives which may have a structured and unstructured data, which is going to be the relevance and all. Now this data accessibility, the cleaning processes and all is going to be also very important. Existence of the robust data management systems is also required. So these are the systems which you have to assess from the areas and all. Then second parameter is actually importance of the mature data practices. You have to have established the governance framework. You also need a consistent data quality assurance processes. You have to clear the data ownership structures and all. It has to get it integrated. It should really flow seamlessly across the entire organization and should reach to the decision makers, stakeholders, and all that. So there are challenges without a strong data foundation you have to have. Otherwise, your AI initiatives are going to struggle to deliver the meaningful results. You have to keep that in mind actually. Now, when you are talking about the AI, you need to understand it's a technology infrastructure. And you have to do the assessment areas about the AI implementation. Your existing IT systems may be old hardware, old software. It may or may not have a cloud capabilities or something. Or even if it is cloud is there, it may be a partial thing, may not be having complete end-to-end data integrations and all that. So computing resources and their processing powers and everything, you have to understand, you have to evaluate, you have to upgrade it that as we go on moving up and all that. So AI platforms and then the development environments are to be accessed. Though you have to have a good infrastructure which will be capable to support to those AI initiatives and all that. And then integration capabilities with the existing systems is also required to be understood and all that. Then there are challenges with the outdated system. The systems which are getting outdated, and as again mentioned earlier, you may have old hardware, old softwares which was having a lot of limitations. It may not be having a integration capability and all. So you have to understand all those and evaluate those things actually. Now, there are definitely an advantage with a modern infrastructure as you go on moving about adoption of the cloud technologies or using big data, using the artificial intelligence with the big data and all that. So it will have a modern, flexible, and scalable infrastructure which will go and support to your artificial intelligence success. So you have to understand the technology stack evaluation. From the current technologies, which will move to the next technologies, which will have those workload which can be taken care by the their hardware, softwares, and all that. Then comes the human element. I always mention it's a head, heart, and hand. They have to work together. So importance of the human element is very important because it's human who are going to drive this whole process. So their readiness, they have to understand the importance of those artificial intelligence adoptions and because there are always different barriers, significant barriers by human elements and all that. So assessing those areas are the artificial intelligence expertise is required. No, from the when I mentioned about the human will have some of those people will have understanding what the importance of AI, how the data can be useful for the data driven decision making systems and all that. Data literacy across the team is very important. The capacity of continuous learning has to be there. The skill gaps are required. Top barriers for AI adoption into the education and awareness is there. So action steps are to be there. So these are the talent and skills assessment is also there. Then we move to the leaderships and then strategic alignments and all that. Leadership must understand and they should have commitment to the AI adoption because finally your decision making will be done by these leaders actually, and they should really get a right data, right time, right accuracy is all very important. So, the importance of the leaders understanding the artificial intelligence roles into the business objective because every company will have their own business objective, there has to be business strategy, the goals will be there and all the so commitment from the leaders for this adoption is very crucial for the success and all that. they have to drive these entire projects. So alignment of AI initiative with the broader business objectives is essential. We have to ensure AI projects support overall business goals. Strategic alignment has to be there from the project relevance point of view, and its impact has to be monitored and all that. Most important thing is the resource allocation to this particular project. So allocating the necessary resources for the AI setup and maintenance. Again, as I'm mentioning, which I discussed earlier also, you need a hardware, you need a software, you need a team, you need a upgrading of the data, you need the data integrity. So there are many those steps which are to be there. So now you have to budget sufficient good amount the resources for this particular project, and then that resource commitment should be there from the top management, the leaders actually. And then executive sponsorships and accountability. Leaders must sponsor and to be accountable for AI initiatives. Executive support drives this entire project momentum and success and all that. Now coming to this organization culture, and then the change, which is really going to drive this entire process or something like that. So importance of culture in artificial intelligence adoption, it's very important. And there is always teams, they resist to change and they may struggle with an AI adoption. It's a human behavior, human nature. There is always resistance to change the practices which have been there for maybe long time or years together. And also you have to do the assessments areas. You have to see that who are the people, who are the team, who are open to the adoption of the technology, adopt to the innovations and ready to change and all that. So you have to identify those team members, and then you have to have their attitudes towards artificial intelligence, and then you have to remove their potential fears or the misconceptions about the adoptions and all that, because they are normally working onto the histories from the previous technologies or previous data, and they have to now really look at the new data which is really coming up and all that. So which again I use the terminology is the data driven decision making, and this requires a good communication among the team, among the groups, among the various departments or something like that, which is going to drive this entire success of this entire projects and all that. So cultural readiness and productivity gains is important. So which ensure the AI-driven productivity gains, which extends the throughput of the company and all. It creates an alignment across the teams. Again, I mentioned it. No, you may have various teams from the procurement, from the quality, from the planning, from the manufacturing, from the warehouse, from the distribution, from the logistics, and all. They have to align all these various teams, which is what is going to drive. So that environment will get built up and all, which will keep in mind the business goals to be achieved and all that. Governance, ethics, and risk management. This is what is my always favorable topic. Actually, I wanted to discuss about AI governance framework. That is existing the structure. No, you have to do that structural planning, strategic planning, and all that, and then managing those artificial intelligence ethics and then the bias. No, the process to handle the ethical concern, because no, many people they have a fear in their mind about the misusing about the data, and it should be an ethical decision making should be there. No, so you have to have those strategies which will have to mitigate those biases, either onto a particular process, particular person, particular department, I think, and all that. At the same time, it should also be relevant for the regulatory requirements and then the compliances and all that. So risk management is required, risk assessments, risk identification is required, and then team should be really aware and they should follow those protocols and all, that will build up a demonstration of the awareness about those things which are there. Now, some of the large companies, reputed technology and systems partners have already developed some assessment frameworks. I'm just trying to share those things with you. This is just a brief thing. For more information, either you can look at it or other videos where those more discussions will be there, or you can also search it out onto the Google and internet to find out the details. So Microsoft has got a maturity level scale. Now they have defined a 4 tiers actually. Foundation, approaching, aspirational, and mature actually. Cisco has also defined the readiness assessment there to do that evaluation of the preparedness with 6 pillars. These pillars are strategy, infrastructure, data, governance, talent, and culture. And what they have done is that categories they have put it as a laggers, followers, chasers, and best setters. Again similar to comparison like a Microsoft 4 levels actually. Deloitte has defined their thing. They have put it about the 10 capabilities areas. They mention 3 core functions actually about the setting up the direction, building up a core capabilities to deliver the AI value, and finally managing the AI holistically. It's again, which I mentioned earlier, it's a people, processes, and technology which will work holistically onto this one. Now there are some readiness surveys are there. You can check it out from those insights from those surveys to assess the current capabilities, understand the perceptions about the. Then surveys are there on through the readiness assessments are there. You have to do the benchmark about the employees' knowledge, onto various. Now it could be about the technology, it could be processes, it could be data-driven decision making. So now and identify those challenges and all that. And finally, what are the benefits to the IT leader or the strategists which have to be there onto AI integration and how it will enhance the products and the workflows and all that. Now, once you have done all these assessments, maturities, and all that, then you can think about the starting of a small pilot project. So, with a small focused use case, you can start, you can secure the first is the stakeholders' commitment. Those users or those who are going to run this particular application or in that particular department, they should be have that buying thing actually, readiness to do that. Provide them the early insights and then go on fine tuning the strategies and do that groundwork for tackling more complex use cases. The complex use cases can be, if you look at it from the purchase point of view, it is placing the order and then expecting the delivery, but then delivery has not been received, maybe due to many problematic factors. It could be transport, it could be non-availability of material, it could be quality not up to date, or many such things will be there. So, how those complex use cases can be identified, and then how you will adopt your AI into such cases to get some suggestions for solving those disruptions or something like that. So then this targeted pilot projects will validate the readiness. Once you build up that readiness and then you look it for the building up of the momentum and all that, and then enhance the organizational learning and all that. Then you have to think about the signs of the team readiness, then the data maturity, clean, well organized and accessible the data, establish the governance practices. You have to take it into consideration. Technical preparedness about the flexibility of the infrastructure. Why we always suggest and recommend very strongly about moving to the cloud technologies, cloud functionalities. It basically, because clouds have got a flexibility of go on accepting the data, increasing the data, support the big data and all that sort of the thing. which was having a lot of limitations in earlier analog systems and all that. So this is where you have to see the technical preparedness and all that. Then comes the skilled personnel. Now you have to really train them about the AI knowledge and the skills, drive a strategic vision, supportive culture is to be developed, ethical preparedness, awareness, and then financial commitments and all that. Then coming to the skills and knowledge enhancements, actually, see, we already have some knowledge about the operation, the data, the processes, but it was all onto old analog systems. Now, when we move to the digital system, there are a lot of advantages are there. So you have to draw a literacy program. How those users will build up a skill gaps, between the assessments and all that. Awareness will be built up and all that. And if required, or what we normally strongly suggest is that you should also plan it out specialized training courses for those users. No? The users again at a different level, operation level, managerial level, leadership levels. No, they have to design those courses and then they have to understand the benefits from these particular things and all that. So identifying the use cases, agents facing the tools, customer facing the AI agents, all. See, finally, when we are looking at it, we are developing all this for the customers, for the patient's point of view. So what patients is going to get the benefits from this AI assistant is very important. So we have to keep that in mind and then design those things accordingly. So building confidence and momentum, with success from the initial projects and all is important. Then comes the strategic assessment. As we discussed earlier, from the leaderships and all, they have to think about the strategy. So strategy also needs to be evaluated. We have to need to have a comprehensive AI readiness assessments also, to identify those gaps and then strengthen those established framework and all. Focus should be on the data foundation, data quality, data accessibility, data governance, which I discussed earlier also, which you have to really keep that in mind. But what I'm planning and suggesting or recommending it over here is the next step is establishing the clear metric. Now you have to identify the key performance indicators. Now I gave you an example about the procurement. Then you have to see, okay, my 90% orders which are being placed are delivered in time. Can I improve on to going to 95% or 98%? So no, that should be the key performance indicators which you have to go on initiating, and where AI can contribute it. AI should go on doing those analysis, and then success of AI initiatives should be identified and all that. Address the cultural barriers and build up the technology support still again there. So after this whole thing, actually, I'm now coming to a conclusion where I want to discuss it out. The importance of AI readiness assessments is a critical first step before investing onto AI technologies and all, and evaluate the readiness across multiple dimensions. Dimensions of AI readiness are key parameters are like data, infrastructure, talent, strategy, culture, and ethics are to be considered. So these are the factors which needs to be evaluated, which needs to be considered, when you're doing the readiness assessments and all that. And then that identifies the strengths and gaps and all. Once you have that readiness spectrum ready, then you have to go on to the methodologies, approaches, and readiness and all. And that will give you a better idea, understanding about the readiness about your company, about your organization, about the preparedness about the hardware, software, culture, people, skills, and all that. So these are the factors which needs to be taken up and all that. So my objective of this particular session was to do how you will get prepared or the readiness for doing this particular assessments and all that. As I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of data you will find on to our other social media platforms also. I strongly suggest and recommend that Do subscribe those things and get a feel of it. And if you have any doubts, queries, feel free to contact us. We look forward for your suggestion. Do share this with your colleagues and all also. Thank you. Bye.